Hello, my name is Renae Leith-Manos. Welcome to this hotel review. I've been a global luxury hotel reviewer for over 2 decades. My passion for the 5-star hotel industry stems from its dynamic nature, much like the world of theatre, with its blend of front-of-house elegance and behind-the-scenes precision. For most of our reviews, we're invited for a 3-night stay, but importantly, hotels or their public relations teams have no input in shaping our reviews. And like you, only see a review once it's published. We highly value your feedback on our reviews and encourage you to share your thoughts below the review. Hi guys, well today I'm asking a fantastic question, and that is, what does it actually take to run one of the most exclusive private islands in the world, owned by Richard Branson, where a stay costs around $22,000 a night for just 8 guests? We're talking about Makepeace Island, which is in Noosa. It's a secluded ultra-luxury retreat just off Noosa, where everything from the design to the dining to the experience itself is curated to an extraordinary level. This is where you go to find out how high net worth individuals actually live. It's the kind of place that people dream about, but very few truly understand what goes on behind the scenes, let alone even get there. Because while the setting feels effortless, the river, the privacy, the calm, the sense of escape, what's happening underneath is anything but, I'm sure. The level of luxury doesn't just happen just like that. It requires precision, instinct, and an almost obsessive attention to detail. Every guest expectation is anticipated before it's even spoken. Every moment is considered, and every experience has to feel completely seamless, even when it absolutely isn't. And as you know, I review so many luxury hotels all around the world, and more often than not, it isn't. So that's where today's guest comes in. I'm joined by the wonderful Kate Gilbert. Now, she's the general manager of Makepeace Island, the woman responsible for bringing this entire experience to life. I mean, I want to ask her what she does for stress relief. From overseeing the day-to-day running of the island to leading a team delivering world-class service at the highest level, Kate sits at the center of what makes this property so exceptional. And goodness knows what she's seeing, the requests she's had, and how she's dealt with them. In this conversation, we go far beyond the surface of luxury and into what it really takes to operate at this level ongoing. The pressures, the expectation, the leadership, the staff management, and the reality of delivering something that to the guest simply feels normal and effortless. Because this isn't just about a beautiful island stay. It's about the future, actually, of luxury hospitality and the people behind it and how things are going to look in a lot more hotels down the track. Kate, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Renae. What an amazing wrap up of what we do. So we were so blessed to have you stay with us on Island the other day. So it was lovely to, have you experience firsthand what we call the Makepeace magic.
Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely Makepeace magic. And I think it's wonderful that I have been to Makepeace Island and I stayed there and experienced it. And I believe that I actually stayed in Richard Branson's bedroom. It wasn't there.
It's his preferred villa, yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was just, a really out of the box. A lot of people have been asking me about it. It's almost hard to put into words because it is just so peaceful and it is so seamless. And so that's why I wrote that introduction, because when I was there, that's really sort of how I felt. But I mean, people always talk about the price, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this interview have come here because they're saying, what on earth do you get for this kind of money? But what does the money actually buy that money can't generally access? What are people actually paying for?
I think that we differentiate ourselves in like 3 different key areas. I think the level of personalization is extraordinary. So we spend an enormous amount of time getting to know the client before they arrive on island, and we curate a bespoke itinerary just for them. We haven't had a copy and paste of an itinerary in 6 years. We also haven't had a menu in the same in 6 years. So I think that our food offering is something that is really exceptional. Executive chef held 2 chef hats for 7 consecutive years before joining us on island. So you've got one of the best chefs in the country cooking you breakfast, lunch and dinner. The food is always a real takeaway for the guests about what one of my favourite things is. And then the amount of inclusions that we have. So, everything from skipper-led fishing, cooking classes, mixology lessons, so much for the kids. So arts and crafts, scavenger hunts, mini Olympics we just did with our last guest as well. I think, those three things really encapsulate what we are, how we are different from other high-end luxury resorts.
And how much do you have to organize beforehand? Because, to deliver a seamless experience where a guest just says, if I know that when I was there, I had diabetes and they brought some bread out and I just said, because we've been told by you that we should, have what we want. I'm going to sound precocious when I say this, but I said, look, I can't eat that. I said, I would like bread with nuts and seeds in it. And they said, what sort of nuts and seeds? And they said, we'll bake that overnight and have it ready in the morning, which they did. But how much, that's just one example, but how much organization beforehand do you do?
Oh, an enormous amount. So my office is organized chaos before the guests arrive. So we have plan A, we have plan B, we have plan C for plan B, every possible thing that the guest could want, we've had plan for before they arrive. We're always forward thinking. I think the team, they anticipate, they don't react, so we're really blessed that we've got a team that can think on their feet, and are very solution based. We try not to say no. I tell the staff, we say, let me see how I can make that happen for you. So we never promise as we can't deliver, but I don't think in 6 years we actually haven't said no to a client. I think that we might not be able to do it in that moment. We might cook the bread for you overnight and have it ready for breakfast next morning, but we haven't actually had to say no to a client, no matter the request.
Wow. But what sort of things do ultra high net worth travelers really want now?
I think that luxury is changing. I think that it's much less about white tablecloths and white glove service anymore. I think that certainly there's a place for that. And across a multi-night stay, we might have a super formal evening. But our guests generally don't want that formality across all of the evenings. I think Australian luxury in its essence is less formal and more warm and intuitive. And I feel like it's what you said, is that effortlessness that our clients expect, and I think that's what they're really looking for, that nothing feels like a big ask because we've done all the prep work so that when the big asks come, we say, absolutely,
Yeah, interesting. Can you share with us anything outlandish that you've been asked for?
I think the most outlandish was probably an owner's request, so slightly different from a guest request. We had an owner staying on island just by himself, and so as you know, we have a new menu for every stay. So we prepped for the week just for one guest, labour for one guest, drinks for one guest, and he came into my office and he said, listen, do you want the good news or the bad news? And I said, well, always good news first. He said, well, it was just during the Olympics, mind you. And he said, well, we've just not won another gold in the swimming pool. I said, great. What's the bad news? And he said, well, I've just invited 60 of the parents of the Olympic swimmers over for a party. They'll be here in 45 minutes. So we were chilling, 30-litre bottles of champagne in the bathtub. We had we curated a cocktail menu we found gold leaf to get the nod to the gold medal. I don't know how chef pulled it off, no idea, but he did. Madness, but what an awesome day at the office, and to be part of that celebration, it was just amazing.
Wow. Do you think your staff, when you're talking about that crazy situation that your chef and all of your staff had to step into, do you think they work harder in a situation which is so intimate and bespoke on Makepeace than, say, in a luxury hotel on the mainland?
It's a really, we're a really bespoke team. I think so. We're really blessed. I think they absolutely work harder, but their roles are very varied. So we were, for example, we were closed for all of 2023, a little bit of 2024 for a massive refurb, but we convinced the owners that the team was so valuable that we didn't want to lose them. And so they all agreed to keep all the staff on, full-time, permanent, part-time individuals, so that as providing they were willing to pivot. So instead of a cocktail shaker or a fry pan, they had a rake or a paintbrush, and so their roles completely changed, and so absolutely they're hardworking. But that even happens across the year when we're not closed for for a major maintenance project. So, our barman has to, be able to pour a $6,000 bottle of wine, and the next day he might be in the garden if we don't have guests. So it is a real family. We're a bespoke bunch of people, but they're all top of their game. And they really value what we're trying to do and value the island.
Yeah, wow. And do the guests treat them well on the whole?
Oh, 100%. I come from solely a restaurant background. So coming into this 6 years ago, I'm not sure what I'm walking into. And we're so blessed. The clients that we have had are just genuinely lovely people. I think that we always exceed expectation. And so they come and they might see something, but they're so grateful for what they're what they experience themselves, and so they you can feel that in the team, and they're really respectful. Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful. And you're effectively competing with the world's most luxurious, and elite, if I might say, islands. Why would someone choose Makepeace Island over Necker and the many others out there?
Yeah, sure. So I think we're more intimate. So we're 25 acres, but we only sleep 22. So we've got 11 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, and 3 powder rooms. So a smaller group. We're perfect for those multi-gen families, small corporate retreats, or milestone birthdays, things like that. I think that where we're different is how people feel when they're here as well. So they don't stay; they really settle in. It really does become their home, and more often than not, there's actually tears at the jetty when they leave, So I think it's about how we make them feel when they're here. And I think time. So certainly for our domestic guests, everyone is so time poor now, but they still want these holidays, these experiences, like, the memories that are on par with those big overseas moments, but they don't have to travel for that anymore. They can come within an hour or two domestic flight and experience that international level of service. And then for our international guests, I think it's that Australian luxury. We are just different. It's we're providing something different that you do get at those other resorts across the world, just from a cultural perspective, I think.
Absolutely. And just talk me through the wine policy or the alcohol policy, because you're not licensed, but you have a sommelier, which actually the whole system you've got is quite economical in the scheme of things.
It works perfectly. People find it a bit hard to get their head around it a little bit. So we have such a broad range of clients, and they're all particular about what they want to drink. And so to try and curate a beverage menu that would please everybody all the time would be simply impossible. So we sell a part of the information gathering, part of our pre-arrivals will gather information about the style of wine they want, the regions, organic, not organic, the price range, and then we'll connect them with our off-site sommelier. We'll curate a beverage menu just for them. We'll have the menu printed with their bespoke title and all those things. We do full service while they're here, so it's like they've purchased it from us. We'll do cocktail classes, match wines with dinner, but they're drinking what they want, all of the time. So it works.
And if they have some left over, they take it home. And if they need more, you can just order it in.
Just a chop up. Yep.
Amazing. Do people generally drink a lot there? Because I imagine they do, because there's a lot of sitting around, a lot of chilling, and it's the vibe for it.
It really depends on the group. I think that with our corporate group, certainly there is less of that nowadays. There's a lot, they're leaning more into that wellness kind of intentional stay. You wouldn't see that years ago. But with these corporate stays, I think, they're incorporating wellness into their itinerary. We'll do yoga and PT one day. It's, and we'll take them down to Noosa National Park for a beautiful walk on that beautiful national park up there. And then we'll do a little barge cruise on the way back before they start their work day. That people want to leave feeling better than they came. And so whilst sometimes there's a bit of white island feather the first night, it certainly doesn't carry on. I think people want to be really mindful about how they're enjoying their holidays nowadays.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you're hosting billionaires and global elites, what's the biggest misconception people have, do you think, about what those kind of the people expect staying on somewhere like Makepeace?
I think that it's that they all really want the same thing. I think that there is people think that they create this formula for luxury and that it's going to land the same for everybody, but it's just not like that. I think people at this level, they everybody wants different things, and I think that's why personalization comes into it. They're all really unique individuals, and we provide a really unique experience for each and every stay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And what impresses wealthy guests today, but what turns them off, do you think?
I think, again, the ability to pivot, the ability to anticipate, knowing what they want before they have realised that they want it. They'll be sitting by the pool and all of a sudden a pot of their, favourite herbal tea will be next to it and they hadn't thought that they wanted that, but that's what they want in that moment. And I think in terms of people, what turns them off is just generic things. So, they've done so many things in the world that if they are sitting in a moment and they're like, oh, this could be anywhere. I could be eating this meal anywhere. I could be doing this activity anywhere. I think it loses its loses its impact if it's a generic experience.
Yes. Yeah, no, interesting. And what about the Bali aspect? Because all of the furniture is Balinese. And there's even, outside my villa, there were these Balinese statues. So I'm out looking onto the water with the Australian bush and then these Balinese statues, which I really enjoyed. Yeah. How did all that Balinese feel and furniture end up there?
117 shipping containers. So
117?
Yeah. So they actually built the entire island in Bali. Took it apart, put it on 117 containers and shipped it over here, and then took about 4 or 5 years, one big Tetris set. Sir Richard and Brett Godfrey just like the aesthetic, You'll find that if you look at Necker, we are actually quite similar in our aesthetic. The pictures are quite similar.
Right. And did Sir Godfrey start Virgin with Richard? What's their relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. So Brett Godfrey started Virgin Australia with Sir Richard, and then they since in the last few years we've had 2 additional owners come on board as well. So 2 new couples, Stuart Giles and Kathy Reid, and James McBeath and Ricky Bannon. They've all so now we've got a 4 ownership group.
Okay. And what do you think the guests remember most, or even indeed your owners you were just talking about? What do you think they remember most? How do you create that kind of moment for them?
I think the sunset cruises are a knockout. We have lots of ultra high net worth guests, and they say repeatedly, we hear, listen, we've been blessed to do so many experiences across the world, and our sunset cruises, either with a dinner cruise or canapes and cocktails up the Noosa River with the world's best sunset, is really top 3. And then I think the food, I don't think there's many resorts that you'll have as high a caliber chef as we've got in the kitchen. And then I think it's the in-between moments, the little moments that people really remember. I think the quiet moments where you're relaxing by the pool, the kids are jumping in the pool, you're watching them play. The quiet moments are, what really hit to the hearts, I think.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And have you ever had to say no to a guest? You sort of touched on this earlier, but
no, like I said, I think that we've always managed to fulfill the guest request, perhaps not in an immediate time frame, but certainly within 24 hours. We just had a guest group leave, a beautiful multi-gen family, and one of the girls was turning 18, but in a couple of weeks, and they decided at 3:00 that at 6:00 that night they wanted to celebrate the birthday party. So within 3 hours, we pulled together a full disco with a DJ from, this is across the Easter public holidays as well. We had a DJ come in, and they had the best time ever. And, it's that surprise and delight, which we love to do,
Oh, that's amazing. But it is that kind of place where I can imagine people go, oh, hang on, I'd really love to, because you don't really know what to expect when you go there.
No. There's lots of let me see how long that will take me to do that for you.
Wow.
We love to create moments that are really memorable and love to do them, in a time frame that people don't think is possible, but we've got such an amazing team, and between us all we can usually pull it off.
How fantastic. And Drew Barrymore, I read that she stayed there. And I believe she just found it by fluke, like going on Google and looking, you know, as we do on the maps and
Yes.
pushing her fingers in and found this island and went, what's that? I want to go there. So did she come to the island?
She did come to the island. Yes, not much more I can say about it, but she had a lovely time and she was an absolute delight.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think she just came with her 2 kids, didn't she? It was just, that's what that was written up. So
yeah, 2 kids and a couple of her friends as well. So
just take us through the costing, because I even get a little bit confused about it. So I mean, if you come just with like that with you and your kids, I mean, how does it work?
So 19,950, so essentially just shy of 20,000 for the first 8
Australian dollars.
Yes, Australian.
Yeah.
And then 1,200 per person per night from 9 up to a maximum of 22. Under 5 are complimentary, but everyone over 5 is attached to that guest count. So all inclusive, all your food, river transfers, all those inclusive activities, just not inclusive of the alcohol.
Yeah, which you've explained.
Yeah.
And up to 22 people.
Yes. So that's 11
Wow.
beds. Yeah.
Jeez, that must be quite pumping when there's 22 on there.
Yes. Yeah, it's busy.
Because there were 8 when we were on there, I think.
So we've got, in terms of the staff guest ratio, so it's 1 for every 8. So across every department. So you've got a host, a housekeeper, a chef and a skipper for every 8 guests. Then once it goes to 16, once it goes over 8, it doubles up to 16, and then up over 16 we'll have another one floating in the middle.
Yeah, it makes sense. But you never get the feeling, well, I never got the feeling there were too many staff or not enough. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I think they're very skilled at reading the room and knowing when the guests want to engage and when they, you know, and when it's time to walk away. And I think that's what we were having a conversation the other day. It's a skill that is learnt over time. You know, we've got some really experienced staff. So
because everyone's different, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Everyone's different, and even one guest can be different on Monday than they are on Tuesday. You know.
Yes. Well, that's luxury hospitality, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And we ask everyone who comes on the show, where to from here? And it could be the next project that you've got for Makepeace Island, the next guest, what you're doing today. So where to from here?
Well, tomorrow I'm going down to Brisbane with my Director of Guest Experiences, Laura Redmond. She and I are going to a luxury trade show that's been put on by Tourism Events Queensland, Bespoke Queensland. We'll meet with some luxury buyers and sellers. Lots of those agents we've met before, but it's just about, you know, keeping that connection, reminding them what we do and anything new on island.
Yes.
You know, and just further developing that relationship so that when they have a guest come through or client come through that wants something extraordinary, we're top of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And where do most of the guests come from in the world?
At the most, primarily domestic, but from an international perspective, it's certainly North America and the UK, and a little bit of Europe. We've got a few Spanish clients that come over as well.
Well, I think with the way the world is geopolitically right now, chances are a lot more people are going to want to come to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
The perception is that it's one of the safest places to travel. There's so many different things to see. So are you expecting more influx from the global market?
Absolutely. And we're seeing that already, you know, in our inquiries for sure.
Yeah, amazing. Well, look, I absolutely love Makepeace Island. It was certainly very peaceful for me. I haven't stopped talking about it. I think I've done a video review, a written review, an Instagram review. I really, really liked it. You can always tell if I like something because I create a lot of content. And I think one of the things that you can't underestimate is the nature that's around. I mean, having kangaroos and, you know, koalas and wallabies and all of that in your front yard. We're Australians, so we do take it for granted a bit. Mm-hmm. But I can imagine that foreigners would just go wild for that.
Absolutely. We've certainly got a lot of, wildlife on the island. We also do, speaking of animals, we do an amazing zoo to you activity, which our internationals love. So we've got a relationship with a local zoo, Wildlife HQ, and they'll bring the animals over for the day. And, you know, the guests can just essentially experience that for a few hours in the day. Last time we had a koala, a crocodile, Tasmanian devil, all of the reptiles. You know, it's a really, really unique experience.
Yeah, the kids would love it.
Yeah, and adults alike.
Yeah. But I think Makepeace is really unique. And one of the things I have to say, you know, because, you know, my job is to travel all over the world and review luxury hotels and luxury experiences. And I really don't know Australia very well because typically there hasn't been much luxury here. Mm. And I think Makepeace is one of the big properties that's changing that, which I think is so fantastic.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you flying the flag, Renae. You know, it's lovely. Like I said, I can send you all of the, images and videos, but until you really experience it firsthand, you can't really appreciate that magic. So we really were
Totally agree.
very happy to have
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll see you up there again soon one day.
That's great.
Thanks for your time, Kate. Lovely to see you.
That's Renae. Cheers.
Enjoy Brisbane tomorrow.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Don't forget to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for regular travel updates. You can also hear our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.